or 60s because I wanted to see all the Greek tunings the way Ptolemy looked at them.
Okay.
That's why I did it, you see. And the same thing, you see, the man who introduced me to the Rig Veda was a French geometer at Cooper Union. I have on here all sets of scales that have nothing to do with Greek music, but this was a burning question back in the 50s and 60s with Kathleen Schlesinger's theory of Greek musicology. She was a British Museum person who thought that nobody understood Greek theory but herself. And among all Greek theorists, all of them lied, except Aristotle. There was one murky sentence in Aristotle that she thought explained everything and proved that everybody else is stupid. And she was raising questions in the 1930s about the physics of music that nobody could answer yet. It was during the 30s that we began to get the instrumentation needed to do a more complex physics. And so what you see on here are the scales I set up on her theories, plus Ptolemy's. But then I used a 100 centimeter length string so I could easily modify any tuning from any place in the world. That's what I wanted to hit. See, I wanted to think for myself. That's what it amounts to. Isn't that a handsome one quarter of the Von Team? This is the Von Temis table. So he thought. I had different ideas, but I made 3 of these because it was Levery's idea that we do them in this format. I'm trying to set it down over. Can you push my thing closer to me? Levery thought it was necessary that I make them so that everyone all right, so that everyone has a peg inserted in the bottom so you can pull them out and look at the different patterns. There's no damn reason in the world for doing it. What I want to show you later is a 7 by 7 square, 49, that shows up on Richard's in a way that you can't see any place, anywhere, except on Richard's display. But can you imagine anybody nutty enough to make 3 of these? I wanted one, but I had to make one to give it to Ernst Levy, who was nuts about it. And it was Sigmund's idea, so I had to give him one. Well, I had to make 3 out of 256 pegs times 3. I made myself a set of jigs, and I did it in the workroom. We have built a fine new auditorium with modern stage lifts and carpenter shop, and so I had professional tools to work with. And I got tired waiting for Levery. He was always writing another book. I got tired waiting for him, and so I made it myself. one year. What I discovered when I did this is if you look at these numbers, you can see why the serpent, 13, wants to be kicked out of the pot. There is a better approximation and an easier one in the two, Horus and Set, the two sons of the throne of Egypt, in which the ratio here is 45 to 32, but the ratio here has to be 64 to 45, and this number in the middle, in order to be median in the middle, has got to be doubled enough time to be bigger than anything else. And I realized after I studied this for a while that this is probably a teaching tool, that nobody has any use for this except to show you why one set of tritones is simpler than another set, and why one of that set can be dropped out, and how in 781,250, how up here in the peak you have a square root of a number down here. You can see that in here. This is such an artificial construction. This has no purpose except to teach somebody like me how easy it is.
Okay. There is a kind of mental gymnastics.
Yes, there is.
And that's...
And it's each step of it is simple.
Okay.
Each step is very simple. Now, what I did not know is, I thought, I keep thinking I know it all, and then it turns out I didn't know it at all.
Praise the Lord, one does not know it all.
Now, these, here you see I have outlined various subsets in here. Here is my computation for an equal tempered scale. What you do is take 1, 3, 9, 27.
Yes.
Multiply them by 5, so they now have a factor of 5.
Yes.
Now multiply them by 7, so they have a factor of 7.
Wow.
That means you can take a ratio of 93 to 50, or 50 to 93, both ways, through the 4, and so out of a 5-digit number here, and the biggest one, 12,600. Out of 12,600, you can get all the tuning we have for need for an equal tempered scale today.
Yeah.
This you have to allow a little margin for steppage, no matter how you do it, you see.
For steppage?
Well, the thing is, strings are assumed to vibrate those ratios, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, if they are perfectly elastic. But we are using piano strings that I can plunge into your heart. We are using piano strings so powerful that we can put tons of pressure on that piano.
Pianoforte.
Yes, so now the tuner takes over, and you hit the string, and you activate all kinds of motion in it, and gradually it settles down. It has to sustain. Now, it has to sustain these partials long enough for you to get an ear hold on how perfect the beats are between the overtones.
Yeah.
So
It's a kind of equilibrium.
What we figure as a tuning margin on the modern piano is 1/10 of a semitone. Mi, fa, mi. Sing that with me. Mi, fa, mi. Can you imagine learning to control that to within 1/10?
Oh, God.
1/12?
I mean, there are often singers for modern pieces composed who go to an eighth tone. But
Look, the only time that happens, if a modern string quartet comes to a chord and holds it, and they stop vibrato, and they all bow at a certain way,
yes,
for an instant, you get a pure sound. It happens only rarely. It happens only rarely.
well, the English composer John Fuchs, who studied in India, he had made compositions with eighth tones in them for a singer. I've heard it. It's a very remarkable feeling.
Well, you have lots of options.
You do. You
see,
have lots of options. It's not a rule.
And what the geometer here gets interested in is the geometry itself and the growth. You know, the way flowers unfold, the way a tulip opens up, the way birds fly, and so on. There are children's movies being made for all kinds of physics that
Yes.
are remarkable. They're incredible.
Absolutely right, yeah.
When I was a boy, I encountered a fact that nobody could have explained to me at the time. We moved to the country and I was 6 years old, and we had to bury all of our own garbage. And we needed to because our whole garden spot was covered with clay that came out of the well that was drilled. And so we had a terrible problem. We were on the banks of an ancient river, and once you got through the clay on the surface, you got down into a hard pan, and it was pick and shovel the rest of the way to China. Well, I used to dig trenches for my mother's garbage, and then, like me, I thought it was fun digging trenches, so I dug slit trenches as a child, knowing that when Mother got scared at how deep it was, she'd throw some garbage in, and then we'd cover it up then for the next few weeks, and then I'd dig another one. And I used to tell myself, I'm digging my way to China.
Because,
But let me tell you what happened, Ella. I dug them to the height that I was growing, which was up above 5 feet. I was approaching 6 feet in height. I was a tall boy in my day. And I'd lay there, and I'd look up, and I'd see the moon brightly in midday when the sun was out. That's strange. And then I'd see a star. But you don't see stars in the daytime. But lying down there in the bottom of the trench, I saw stars.
of course, like the Egyptians would have done.
That's correct. And so eventually, when I read how these measurements supposedly were taken in Egypt, I realized what a foundation I had given myself without any explanation for it.
That's best. That is best, yeah. So many of the historians, haven't dug anything, they haven't constructed anything, they haven't done any experiments, they know no astronomy, and they're lousy mathematicians.
And if they ask you a question, what they want is a word that excuses them from doing it.
Exactly. It is, it's like the two cultures of
they
rebel.
listen carefully for that.
Only want the right word, and then they can possess ownership of the word, even.
Now, Dumbrell is in the process of bringing out, it should come out sometime this year, another essay of mine And this time, the last 50 pages in this book are written by a supposed expert on Arab tunings.
Arab?
And we have discovered we can talk to each other now. And so I sent him this material, this new material.
Yeah.
I must leave these fellows develop this. I am too old to, I can't count on writing another story.
You want to find a new form. You need a new form to write in verse, little poems and stanzas.
I had my chance. I took advantage of it as well as I could.
Good, yeah. But what would it be? You say now. What is? Can you focus now on? What is it you are focusing on? What is it you really want to finish now?
I'm supposed to write a piece for Antonio de Nicolas Feshev. He was the scholar who helped me for years on the Hindu.
In the Rig Veda.
That was a great collaboration because he blew my mind free from the Germanic iron discipline that I had won my freedom from the inside, you see. And my theologian friend on the West Coast wants my help in rewriting one story that we did together for a new Bible dictionary that gave him a commission for an article on Nahum for 2013. I would like to do that because he's come a long way with me. He understands very much. But he's also lost in scholasticism. Look, that's a nasty word you use about other people's silly.
Well, for me, it's an admirable word. I adore the scholastics.
Huh?
I think the scholastics are wonderful.
Well, scholasticism carries a different meaning.
Okay.
It means getting lost in details without...
All right, it's like the academic bureaucrats.
That's right, and this is what they will tell you in many disciplines, that their professional journals aren't worth reading, and they don't read them.
They don't read them anyway.
Now,
is this the Kaiser?
This is Kaiser's big textbook. Now, he has many other books, and I can tell you right now that there are more pages in this book that have to do with explaining my pegboard. This goes on at great length. They're all about my pegboard. This is the so-called. There's some of these graphics for this.
Interesting.
I believe the man is correct that this is an authentic Platonic construction, going clear back to Archytas in the 5th century.
Well, that's the one you developed, sent round just now, wasn't it? With
That's
the detailed working on
see,
it. It's that one, yes.
It has 2 monochords, and look at his man. Oh, notice this one,
the one you
the boldness of it.
Oh, it's extraordinary. It's just very joyful.
By the way, the looks of some of the others is quite different. Anyway, this man goes on forever and ever and ever and ever about the same stuff.
Very Germanic.
This is the first volume. Here's how he ends up. This is how he would do it his way.
That's the head and the hands and so on. Amazing.
Well, he's made it narrower. He's gone clear out to 12s here. But he's done the same thing. Now, what he does is explain very well why he thinks this is authentically Pythagorean, and I believe it's probably personally authentically Platonic, using Archytas formulas. When you use Archytas formula for the harmonic mean, this is a sketch by the same name, the same Willard Hanukkah.
Oh, I see. Yes. Yeah.
It's the same sketch.
I see.
You see, I can't tell you everything.
Oh.
Look, these tables, they printed them over and over in every different kinds of arithmetic they can. They all have to do with the same system. Richard has put virtually, not all of this, but a lot of it, into his schema. And
he's found the nub of it, so to speak.
What it actually has to do with music as a tonal art is not clear at all. My friend Ernst Levy wrote that. Levy is convinced. Levy worshipped this man as a friend, and he admired him greatly, but as he said to me, I couldn't teach him what a modulation meant, how to change it. Levy is using this material, but he's developing harmony his own way. And I happened to mention Levy's theory of harmony, and it got printed. This is my table and another. It's in
Levy.
Here one way after another. It's all they have to talk about. And who's got time for it? Who's got the money to print a book like this? It comes out for sale for $300, and some millionaire out in California has got money and willing to...
More money than sense.
Well, look here. I did not know. I never saw a picture of that. Sigmund talked to me in designing this on a 1-inch square using half-inch pipes.
Yeah.
This was Sigmund's model. This goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My God, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Six that way.
Only 6. 1, 2, 5, 6. This way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, this one's a 6 by 6 model. It was Sigmund's idea that we do it out to 256 because his tables go out that.
So these are the little children.
That's right. Bring the little. You see what happens when the devil tempts Jesus. Jesus, of course, gives him the right answer. Oh, get thee behind me, Satan. The next time he sees the disciples, he says to them, "Who do men say that I am?" And they're surprised. Or they know what the answer is. Why is he asking him that question? You see, they are so subtle in the way they show Jesus now interacting with the disciples in a new way with great concern with who they think you go out to make converts. If they won't have you, let them be as the enemy. If they don't believe, that's too bad for them. What the Bible authors are doing is crafting the most typical kind of savior that erupts in any culture that believes in one. We have them over and over and over in Christianity. We invite people to take this role on themselves. And every little Jewish boy who was loved to death at the expense of his sisters and younger brothers, and they can be spoiled. There are plenty of Jewish parents who raise their children to be an image of the Godhead. And Levery is an invented name. He invented for himself for his American career. And it has the roots of two Hebrew words. The Lev is a reference to a lion, and Ari is a reference to a heart, you see. And I always knew that Sigmund conducted himself in the way he had great respect for his parents. He had a grandfather who was Orthodox, but his father was a very successful lawyer in Vienna. Sigmund was raised in very upper class Jewish environment with his mother, a part of the Queen Mother's retinue of do-gooders and so on, with access to the palace in that sense. Sigmund was taken, as a child, he was taken to Italy every summer by his mother for the music and the fresh, the air in the Alps.
All right. That's warlike of numbers.
Oh, yes. Well, that comes out of the blue, and Philo is not the kind of a philosopher who you can trust with a number, because he'll make numbers add up to anything he wants. If he needs a few more, he'll throw them in. And you realize this man is not writing scientifically, and of course this is the bane of his scholarship. They don't know what to do with him. However, if you read Philo, you cannot miss the fact that he's a passionate believer. He loves his religion. He joys in it. His faith, he loves the Alexandria synagogue. He goes, the men seated on one side and the women on the other, and so in the chants they sing antiphons to each other. Oh, this sends him out of his senses. This is all very interesting, but you find so much evidence in Philo that he actually knew the musical lingo and the practices of his time. And of course, we've all read Plotinus' Aeneads, I suppose. The Middle East was gaga on nines. But not until 1976 did we discover that Babylon was gaga about its 9-string lyre. Now, on the 9-string lyre, strings 1 and 8 are tuned in octaves, and strings 2 and 9 are tuned in octaves. So, the answer to the British question as to whether the ancients knew octaves as being equivalent, the only example we have, they are framing the system in paired octaves. They're making sure you've... And in this monochord that I'm showing you, with the long monochord upright and the short one with, and you're talking about the half and the whole, and you're talking about the great and the small. That picture is so perfect a summation of Plato's principles that if he didn't invent it, he was a dope. He would have needed to think that way to put together everything he's telling us. There isn't. I would never have done what I did if I hadn't have made that assumption that that Platonic dialectics is an argument with yourself about the opposite meanings. In fact, if it's possible to use 3 both ways, what jackass would use both 3 and 20 and interchangeably to do a multiplication or a division, or 4 and 15? You see, the Sumerians gave themselves 2 notations. They gave themselves separate notations. No scribe worth his salt is going to bother with 2 if he can get by with 1. You don't need them.
By separate, you mean they had the 60 and the decimal?
The point is that the economy of the workplace encourages common sense.
It does. That's right. Yeah.
My great political philosopher friend for years was Harvey Wheeler, who was marvelous. And his statement to me when he got acquainted with my work, he said, you know, the human race could never have survived to become so foolish if we hadn't been so sensible first.
Yes, I wondered about that myself. Yes.
You see, there are some habits that are contrary to your survival chances. Being too naive is one. Mm-hmm. Feeling out the opposition is important. You know. And some of I have so many wonderful memories I'd love to share. Let me trail near our bivouac, and suddenly, like from here to the wall, a figure steps out of the jungle. It was too dense. You could only walk an occasional trail. Here comes what was a rare sight in New Guinea. A handsome 6'2", godlike figure, covered with war paint, carrying his bow and so on. And it looked like maybe going to a dance or something. And we were walking towards each other, and here I am. I've got my gun like this, and we know there are headhunters around. We're taking over this area from the Japs, who made themselves unwelcome. And I thought, what the hell are we going to do when we meet? You know, there's not room enough to pass it. And so I just plowed on, and as we came to each other, he stepped aside. How, he said, and went on with his dignity intact. And I went on feeling stripped of any decency whatsoever for not even being able to respond to him. When you're dealing with primitive people, you're out of your element, you know. But there are ways of communicating that you realize, but there's a reason, you know. In this book, he's talking about how the Indians responded when 20 years later the priests came back to convert them. They're a conquered people. By now, the disease the white men brought with them, which has wiped out most of the Indians, and the books have been burned, and so there are only a few have survived. And so the priests are meeting this defeated people who are being urged now to swear allegiance to the new God. They skillfully begin their discourse. He's quoting now from before the friars, praising them for their voyage amidst the clouds and the mist from beyond the sea. But almost unexpectedly, they declare their determination to contradict and question. In spite of their humble attitude, and acknowledging the possible consequences by their statement, we place ourselves in danger. They openly proclaim that not even the fear of death can keep them from expressing their opinions. Rather, it is death they seek, since, according to the friars, our gods are already dead. That's what they're being told. Following this powerful declaration, the leaders refer to the allegations of the friars. You said that we know not the Lord of the close vicinity, to whom the heavens and earth belong. Their reaction is first one of wonder, but the reasoning which follows is sound and coherent. The answer is that any devout follower of a religious faith, from our ancestors have we inherited our pattern of life. In truth did they hold our gods. They taught us all their rules of worship, all their ways of honoring the gods. You realize how I'm reading this. The Lord of the close vicinity is how a loving Jew feels about the presence of divinity, even though he may be cursing him at the same time, cursing his luck, you see. The devout person feels devout and close, and the Old Testament description of God, I am among you. Wherever 10 gather, prepare. I am there. The point of Ezekiel is to establish the throne of heaven at an appropriate level in Richard's holy mountains. And they do that. And what I am latching onto here, with your permission or not, the idea of them describing God as the Lord, you see, translators don't know whether when they use the Spanish word for Lord, they don't know whether it carries the meaning of God or great leader. There's an ambivalence there. But they were taught to worship. They thought, when the Spanish landed, that their Lord was returning to them. The Lord of the close vicinity. Does that metaphor seem possible to you as an arguing point? You see what I mean about there is a depth of feeling behind these crazy stories. And of course, in the Hindu stuff, the later Hindu material gets very complicated. And the story of the 5 brothers in the wars of the Kurukshetra war for
the Ramayana.
The Ramayana and the
in the Mahabharata and all that.
The Mahabharata I have not fully plumbed them yet. And I found another treasure just recently. I had never read or heard about the Chinese story, The Journey to the West. Chinese Buddhism returned the honor of a Hindu story about the journey to the East.
Right.
And I looked at it, and on the very first page of it, I'm getting Plato's Arithmetic back from it, with the Vedic numbers reduced, with Plato's reduced. I have to spend, if I could live another, I need to live another year or two to do. I can't do it all very quick. I need to read several books. There is so much to be learned. Our people who have published the great books have done a great thing, but the books are so much greater than they realize. They aren't reading them yet. Now, when they do read them, what I by that is, they have to add what I know to what they think they know. And it will come out richer. It will have more meaning. It doesn't mean that I don't know what the experts know. I don't see into the language deep enough. But they are bound to see a deeper level of meaning. And if you follow modern science, the people who study science most passionately are scientists, insofar as an expression of faith is concerned. They are the loving singers of the modern age, and people don't realize this.
It's in my book.
Is that your book? I can believe it's your book, from what I've seen. One of my, I only taught one student in all the years, 32 years at Brooklyn College. Only once was I assigned a student to supervise his master's thesis. And he wanted to study Boethius, whom nobody had heard of.
Wow.
And finally, somebody in my department remembered me, and they asked me if I'd take him on as a student. And we had a very stormy year together. And according to him, he's written 2 volumes now himself. This happened, 40 years ago, 30 years ago. He was a Jewish boy from Brooklyn, and his mother fell in love with his piano teacher. The boy had a lot of musical talent and a good ear, and he became a nightclub entertainer. And then he ended up, eventually, after he came to Brooklyn College to get a master's degree, I gave him a rough time as we studied Boethius together before the new studies became available. So we didn't have too much to work with. But he had the most claptrap mind. I couldn't make any sense out of it. And he got a job teaching music to the conservative rabbi crowd there in Brooklyn. The Welsheimer group, they moved into, it's not Grand Central, what's the cross?